Available through Amazon and, well, yeah, just Amazon. Monsterotica, The Genie's Delight by Dustin Midnight. That's an alias he goes by, I believe. Our first chapter. It was a cold, cloudy summer afternoon in a bustling city that never slept. That's how Jack Rimmer saw it while walking down its busy streets. Everything seemed gray, without any signs of light. While people moved past him, he couldn't help but notice how everyone had an umbrella. Strange. Didn't the weatherman say there was a 0% chance? He pushed the thought off to the side as he continued to walk. It's been a long day, and he was sure that it wouldn't get any better. Just this morning, he found himself oversleeping since the surge knocked the power out and reset his alarm, causing him to be late at work and getting written up. To make matters worse, his boss sent him home early, and rent is due soon. And promise tomorrow. Oh, no. So here he was, aimlessly walking down the street just to keep himself busy. What am I going to do? I have to pay the rent somehow, he mumbled, stuffing his hands in his pocket. While thinking of what to do about the situation, a sudden drop of water interrupted his train of thought as he looked up to the now overcast sky. Shit, you gotta be kidding me! He grumbled, picking up his pace to run as the rain started to come down. Between the people crowding the sidewalk and the rain starting to make it hard to see, he couldn't tell how close he was to home. Despite his troubles, the rain decided to only come down harder, unforgiving and drenching him. The constant pelting of cold rain made him miserable, and finding a familiar landmark, he realized he was about a half an hour from home. Jack decided to take shelter in the closest building he could get to, just randomly grabbing a door handle and swinging it open. As he got into the building, he just took a deep breath and let the warm air consume him. In his rush, he didn't bother to look at what he ran into, but now that he's safe, he examines his surroundings. The place was old and rather dusty, almost antiqued. He noticed a mirror, a reflection of his wet self looking back at him. He began to take stock of himself. From his long brown hair that reminded him a bit of a jungle he needed to get cut down, to his slightly husky body from eating nothing but fast food for the last 6 months. He couldn't remember the last time he had a decent home-cooked meal. His slightly tanned skin, all thanks to the days he had to go out and run to work, was now slick from the rain. So far, so good. What do you think?
I don't know. It's not really my thing, but I was making some noise. That's why I muted myself.
Oh, thank God I'm recording it from my end. Jack
Well,
sighed. What?
Oh, I was just muting just in case my boyfriend comes in, so.
Oh, good. Jack sighed and began exploring the place where he noticed all the items sitting on the shelves were stacked haphazardly. Doesn't seem to be in any form of order. If anyone of OCD has seen this, they might freak out. Is there anything you desire, young man? A decrepit voice called out from a woman. The sound of a voice caused Jack to turn around, startled by just the voice alone. When he looked over, standing behind him was a short old woman. She looked to be in her late 80s. She was leaning against a cane. Shaking his head, he simply said, "No, I was just trying to get out of the rain. It just came out of nowhere, and this was the first place I saw." He just stood there, trying to give a calming smile. There was just something about the woman that made him feel rather uncomfortable. Her eyes were dark, looking almost black. The long, stern look on her face basically told him she meant business, and she would fuck you up. She looked at Jack for a few minutes, eyeing him carefully before giving a long sign, then turning around and exclaiming, "Fine, but don't break anything. You break it, you buy it. They're all antiques." She raised her cane in a menacing tone, pointing the damn thing towards them. Clear she meant business in so many ways. And so, in many ways, Jack knew not to fuck around. She began hobbling away while giving off a loud grunt, since she knew it was going to be a long day. Seems Jack didn't know what she was going to do, but he decided to stay away. Jack began exploring the antique store, much odder than at first glance once you look around. The place contains what you usually expect: old dusty furniture, No knickknacks of any variety. All there seemed to be around this area was strange and peculiar items from various cultures. One looked like an old shoe, another basically seemed like a hand with only 4 fingers on it. Another old thing reminded him of one of those cigar boxes. It wasn't much, but everything seemed so different and interesting at the same time as he admired them. He did his best not to touch anything for fear of the old woman's wrath. You know, this place probably wouldn't be half bad if there was a little dusting done, he mumbled under his breath. Didn't really need anyone around him to listen, but he risked it. After all, if you're talking to yourself, you think you're crazy. Besides, Jack always had that problem. Talking to himself just came naturally. Sometimes you do it and people just walk by at the wrong time. He tries to keep it to himself so nobody would notice. Continuing on exploring, looking at all the strange knickknacks plastered all over the shelves, he began to examine a small mirror. It didn't really seem that it was reflecting, which was odd, so he decided to ignore it. There was one item, a small one, that he saw, being by far the most eye-catching item he's seen. While he was looking at it, didn't give much of anything really. An average oil lamp. Nothing about it seemed impressive. The only thing odd was that it was long-standing. Looked like a good foot in length. Skinny in the center, protruding up before it widened up, forming an indentation so as to be able to release its own beautiful flame. Small wick on the top, while the bottom half was probably the whitest work and containing the oil that allows the lamp to be used for any period of time. Looks like Genie's lamp. Or sounds like it. Considering we watched I Dream of Genie a while ago, it does come to mind. You could tell the seller thought the lighting of the room looked kind of dark, but it was oh so dusty. Jack didn't know why, but he felt drawn to it. He moved closer, his hand raising as he reached over towards the lamp. It started racing as he slowly began to correct it. Just a chance to touch it, to ease his curiosity. What was it about this lamp? Why did he feel like there was more to it than meets the eye? His fingers were close to gripping the base of it, gripping it tight, but not too tight. He didn't want to break it. That's why he suddenly felt something hit his shoulder. As it held onto him, it nearly pulled him back and caused him to let go of the lamp before he could do anything about it. He turned his head to see what was the problem. It was the old woman. She didn't look happy. I said you don't touch anything! Jack didn't know how to react and just stammered for a minute until finally found the words to speak to her. You just said that you break it, you buy it, but you never said anything about touching anything. Through the momentary pause, the old woman looked at him for a minute, feeling rather annoyed by the smart-ass routine. Quit being a smart-ass! I've seen you taking the interest in my lamp. Are you interested in buying the small trinket? The way she looked at him with those dark brown eyes seemed to lead Jack into an abyss. Yeah, it's pretty nice. How much for it? She looked into his eyes as if to examine them closely before looking over at the lamp, then reach over and grabbing it. She seemed to be extra careful with it, clearly trying to figure out a good price for it since it was not marked. Another thing, that is an older relic. I hate to pass off as such an old and valuable item to me, but for such a strapping young man, I think I'll make do with about $100. Jack raised his eyebrow, looking at the woman. Is she serious? He looked down at the lamp before looking back at the old woman as he couldn't help but wonder if it was worth it. As he was thinking about it, is it worth it? I really only have about 100 left on me. But the more he looked at the lamp, the more the thing just seemed to call for him, wanting him, almost as much as he was wanting it. I'm so gonna regret this, aren't I? He said out loud while the woman just stood there. Come out, kid. I'm giving you a great deal. Don't test my patience. She tapped her cane the way her fingers moved over slowly. As she was clearly wanting to sit down, Jack did the only thing he could think of and gave a long sign. Fine, you got a good deal. He reached over, presenting his hand to shake it. The old woman just looked at it and grabbed her cane, pointing it over to him. Shake this. Your hands are too thick, it'll break it. I'm an old woman after all, she grumbled. Her eyes is in a serious, I honestly don't care look. Though Jack moved over, grabbing a hold of it, after all, what more could he possibly have done? As he shakes the cane, his fingers grasp over the copper top. She watched him for a second before pulling the cane away from him and began walking off. Grab the lamp and bring it up front, boy. You better have cash. I don't accept checks. She motioned, hobbling off as Jack stood there completely alone for a few moments, before he turned around to look at the lamp. The way he stood there, it just looked to be more than what it seemed, but he just couldn't really tell why. He figured it didn't really matter. He sighed as his fingers reached over, slowly wrapping around its base. It felt so light and cool to the touch. He walked off in the direction of where the old woman had headed while looking at the lamp. He was sure something was there. There's no denying it. Do you have my $100? She said, crooked voice spreading through his ears and causing him to shiver. That was the worst of it as he reached down, pulling his wallet out. When he looked down there, he discovered that's all he had left. This was his last $100. He reached down, taking what was left of the money for another week, and just gave it to her. Thank you for your business. There will be no free funds. She snatched the small bills and proceeded to count it while Jack grabbed the lamp, just so he can look at it. He simply moved on, taking his newly acquired lamp, and walked out the door. The rain seemed to have vanished now, with only signs of there having been rain was the sight of the wet ground. Other than that, it was a clear day. The sun was shining bright, with it feeling much warmer. The long walk just continued while he made his way back to his apartment, but he couldn't help but feel his mind clearing up. It was when he reached his apartment that he truly began thinking about the events that happened. His jaw dropped when he looked down at his apartment building. A small, ramshackle place, falling apart what seemed like every day. It's just one of those days. As he pulled his keys to unlock the building elevator, he made his way inside, and the first thing he did was check the elevator. Now, while he knew that it most likely wouldn't work, the thing never did, but he liked to check anyway in case luck was with him. The cheap bastard who ran this place never seemed to get anything fixed, and when he did, it never worked right. He pressed the button. After a minute or two, it was clear the elevator wasn't coming, so he just gave a sigh and began walking up the stairs. Life only seemed to go on, nothing really catching his interest. He was just living in a world where he just had to survive. It was the best anyone could do, in his opinion, as Jack would go up the stairs. And into the 5th floor, the stairs creaked with each step he took, sounding like the cries of souls lost and lined with misery as they sounded in his ears. As he went on up, slowly walking as he made his turns, passing doors of the apartments of other people who live in this crapshoot of an apartment. One door, you could hear a couple arguing, screaming at each other. The Charms, who had been around for about 6 months. He walked on to pass them, all the while hearing a female voice calling out to a significant other, calling them out. Jack could only ignore them as he walked on. He went up another roll of stairs, trying to move off when he suddenly ran past an individual. A slight, heavy-set man, blonde hair and creepy little eyes that just seemed to make Jack feel rather uncomfortable. He really didn't know much about the guy, aside from him kind of just showing up one day. Every so often he saw him walk out of his apartment, which Jack didn't bother with. He was just a rather odd person. He walked off, heading up the stairs. One more floor to go, then he would be home. While he went towards the apartment, he found the place extraordinarily silent. He just continued walking, thinking about what he was going to do when he got home. He was imagining getting some sleep. Sleep sounds good. Just falling down into his bed and rest up. He'll have work in the morning. No, that was wrong. He realized it was Friday. Saturday's his day off, and then there was Monday. It was a holiday. He couldn't remember what holiday it was, but at least it gave him a day off and being paid. But it still wouldn't be the same situation when Jack went back to work on Tuesday. Just another day in his simple life. Jack pushed his key into the keyhole, but the way the key sliding in felt rough to his hand. It seemed to find him before it finally took place. He turned. The door clicked open. He walks into his room, and it wasn't until the door was behind and fully locked that he walked into his room and stopped in his tracks. Did I really just spend my last $100 for this? Fuck. He screamed as he looked down on his lamp. He was feeling annoyed. No, he was pissed with the realization. He's been struggling with money, yet he had just wasted all sorts of money on this thing. What the hell am I going to do? What the hell am I doing? His hands began moving on its own. He started to toss the lamp over to the other side of the room. He watched it soar and instantly regret it. Thankfully, it landed right on an old lumpy couch. He watched this, giving a hard sign. Thank fucking God. He exclaimed as he ran over towards it. He couldn't allow anything to happen to this thing. Could you imagine what would happen if something happened? What would happen if something really did happen to this thing? It would definitely be a waste of money. He walked over, grabbed the object, and began examining it just a little bit more. With the much brighter light the room provided, he couldn't help but find that the lamp was even dirtier than he saw initially. It's covered in grime. Shit, this thing is so damn filthy, he whined as he walked towards the kitchen. He grabbed a washcloth where he began to scrub the thing clean, his fingers going over it, washing it, wiping every bit of dirt, watching it as it slowly went down the sink. His eyes truly looked over at how mesmerizing it was. Instead of the dark black it had once looked like in the shop, he noticed it pure red that glinted under the light. Gold wires lay throughout it. The thing was truly stunning under the light. Well, maybe this is something. Maybe I'll be able to get my money back. It was then that the world went quiet. Everything just stopped. Even the hands on the clock mounted on the wall just stopped moving. He never noticed this. But as he suddenly began noticing something that, in his words, just seemed odd, smoke began coming out of the lamp. What in the world? Jack said, getting closer. He noticed upon getting a closer look at the lamp had been the sweet scent of cherries invading his senses. He could taste it, smell it, feel it. Everything about it was driving him wild. While he turned around, a small part of him, the sliver of instinct he had left, told him he needed to get out of there. Something about this wasn't right. He tried to make a break for it, heading off towards the front door. He was shocked by this and began running towards the living room. The red simply began consuming the room around him, taking over the floor as he tried going off. He looked down and realized he couldn't even see his own feet. Everything was being consumed as he tried to get out of there faster. That was when he realized that with each step he took, his body seemed to slow down. Thankfully, he was still getting closer to the door. He was nearly free as he was reaching over towards the door handle. It was his chance. He'd be free from whatever it was that was going on. Come on, he thought, not daring to speak. Who knew what would happen if he breathed in the smoke? Did this old woman try to kill him for $100? This was ridiculous. Then, for whatever reason, Jack turned his head, looking back at the lamp, which is what he saw was the weirdest thing it could have been. It was the weirdest thing he could imagine. It looked like a hand was forming and pulling itself out of the mist, giving life to it, which caused him to think that the smoke was causing him to hallucinate. He absolutely needed to get out of this place. Shit, he coughed out. Though when he turned around, he felt his vision blurring, his body getting heavier as he began falling backwards, and it looked like everything was fading till it had all gone black. Kitty, I don't recall this happening in I Dream of Genie, did you? By the way, I cannot hear you. I don't think I can hear her. I think she's probably muted. Something's happening on her end, I bet. Oh well. Time to soldier on. The first thing Jack realized when he opened his eyes was that he was laying in his own bed. The only other thing was that he was buck naked. Like, day he was born naked. He was under the warm blankets. The only reason he could tell he was naked from how his cock felt brushing against the blanket's fabric. He was stiff as a board, he realized. Wow, okay. So we're already getting this shit, huh? Alright. Nice to know that we're gone straight into the kind of porn fucking territory. Jack just figured that everything that had happened was only a bad dream, so he decided to pull himself up from the bed. He realized at that point he couldn't. His body was pinned down to the ground. As he looked around trying to figure out what's going on, he began adjusting himself. His hand managed to grab hold of the blanket, which Jack started to slowly push down. Even with it being dark in the room, he sees two hands wrapped around his chest, holding him down, one from each side. Feels soft when his hand brushed against them. They were clearly not his own. As he felt his heart racing, a hot breath pressed against him, and a voice whispered, "Well, hello, Master. It seems you're awake." It's a feminine voice, which caused Jack to shudder slightly, but curiously, it's calming and seductive. He could barely remember what happened before he passed out. Did he drink too much? He shook his head and called out, dumbly, "Who are you?" "Jenny, it's too dark. Maybe we should turn the line on." A much softer voice called out, right by the other figure. He kept turning his head over, looking towards shadowed figures. Wait, there's multiple? The voice on his right giggled. "Come on, Barbara, it'll be much fun doing in the dark. Besides, it's been so long since we had this kind of fun, and this master's cute." Jack felt a light squeeze as one of the hands grabbed his sex, which made him inadvertently moan. "Master is somewhat on the small side, but it's cute." The seductive voice continued on before giving a soft giggle. Giggled. That's not a good idea. Just a giggle. OD. Fucking hell. It didn't seem like she was being mean, but Jack felt himself grow in her hand as those slender, skilled fingers began to stroke. Oh, we're in porn territory, I guess. Okay. So this is how it is. Especially with a name like Monsterotica.
Well, Gonzo, aren't you the porn, hentai expert, man?
Where were you when I was asking you?
I was in the bathroom taking a shit.
Glad plus I'm not hearing that.
Well, everybody hears it now. You guys are taking a shit. I was taking a shit. I'm not taking a shit now.
We have this 3 genies now going on. I don't know why, but
it sounds like I'm not trying to be rude on this guy. I bet he's very inspired and a great writer. Not trying to be rude, but I feel like we're reading his fantasy. But to each their own.
But anyways, just seemed like she was being mean, but Jack felt himself grow in her hands as those slender, skilled fingers began to stroke. He had to admit, he wasn't the biggest person. He definitely wasn't a porn star when it came to size of his manhood. Just wish for God I wish it was bigger. I want to be able to satisfy these lovely ladies. His face almost glowed red. He hoped they didn't hear him until the gentler voice said, "Is that your first wish, Master?" "As you wish." There was a long pause when Jack heard the sound of finger snapping. There was nothing at first, and then he felt a small tingle moving around his, member. A pleasurable vibration as he watched it begin to grow. He started watching his cock glow bright red, changing from his stiff 5-inch member, and grew to look about twice its normal size while still being stiff as a board. Jack even thought it thicker,
Why are you laughing? It's literal porn.
It's just how how funny it is to sometimes see how people try to write sex scenes.
You should watch bad pornos. They're more hilarious. There's a bad Family Guy porno that one of my friends made me watch, and I was like, no. And the lady was like, "Ow, Peter!" I'm like, oh my god, no. I don't want to hear Lois getting fucked, thank you.
Oh, shit. Alright.
Oh, cute.
Jack let out a long moan. The vibration slowed to a complete stop. "Oh, Barbara, good move. It's so much bigger now," says the sucked out voice. Jack assumes came from the one named Genie, who reached out and grabbed a hold of his larger cock, giving it a light squeeze, and her tongue moving in slowly as she licks the head, slowly making Jack moan in pleasure. Holy Jesus, that's a long-ass sentence. Needs to break it up a little bit. Her fingers were soft at the touch. She pumped her arm back and forth. This has to be the dream. Fuck, but it feels so damn real. It would only get better as he began feeling a pair of lips press against him, each nice and soft, before beginning to slowly move down where Jack was restrained, like he was going to make a move. He was enjoying himself far too much. He could feel his loins bounce with his hips, moving in with the stranger's hands. Relax, master. Let my sister do all the work, Jenny whispered, causing Jack to moan harder. Sisters! Holy fuck! This is getting even hotter! He loved this dream, and it was getting better by the second while two girls moved down to press their lips against his pelvis. There he felt a small hand grabbing his balls, giving him a gentle squeeze, causing them to gasp. I'm sorry, is that too much? The shy voice whispered, apologetically, as she massaged him. Jack moaned as he felt every inch of it. It's fine, keep going. He's lost in pleasure now. That was when he felt one of them, suspecting it might be Jenny, moving down, wrapping those luscious lips, apparently he sees these, around his hard-throbbing, apparently foot-long now, cock. Her lips
Somebody was compensating for something.
Her lips were so soft and warm as she stepped down. She was sucking him, and he gasped with want. Holy shit, he grunted while he heard the shyer voice saying, Jenny, I think he likes this. I think he might be getting closer. Barbara was saying this. The one they claim to be Barbara anyways. We have no idea about which is which.
I love someone in the chat and Zach's like, bye, sisters! James Charles.
God damn it. Okay, we're just going to stick with one chapter, I guess. I don't know. Let's see what happens. I'm on like page 9, and this is 106 pages, but we're only dealing with at the max 2 chapters. Jack felt her continuing to lick his shaft, moving up and down with slow, passionate licks, till it finally wrapped around his throbbing cock. He gasped louder, his curls curling, as he was overwhelmed with pleasure. He never felt anything like this. There was no way these two were human. Oh God, keep going. Spark seems to be flying as he felt Ginny going right back down. As it seemed like two had switched places. His head was pulsing as he thrust his hips onto what we think it's Margaret. So we have Jenny, Barbara, and Margaret.
Why does this sound like a really weird version of the Golden Girls to me? Anyway, continue.
This is supposed to be a Genie fucking thing.
The only Genie I know is I Dream of Genie, so...
I know. Hell, even the bottle is referencing Genie's lamp.
Okay.
So, she seemed to gag, but at this point Jack didn't have a single care. His other head was doing all the work for him. He was doing anything he could, just trying not to blow his load, but it just seemed to be getting harder. Fucking. As the seconds rolled on. The one he thinks is Barbara gagged down on his cock, and the way she was making noises while sucking was a huge turn on. As he felt himself reaching down, grabbing her head. Her hair was soft against his hands and pushed her down more. I'm about to come fuck.
That's what happens. What did he expect? Exploding spaghetti?
The way he wrote this is, I'm about to come fuck. There is no fucking period to separate it for two sentences. There's no comma. It's just, I'm about to come fuck.
I'm no writer, but...
We're gonna need
I'm about to come. Fuck! Who the fuck is, like, hitting me up on my phone?
I'm sorry.
Some hoe. Anyway, continue. So Zachary, like, is like, bad sister again, and then it's like, then he's like, bruh moment. Bruh.
I like trying to read I like trying to point out such comically bad written dialogues because it's just you can't make this shit up to be funny.
It reminds me of the war back in '72. I remember when I was one of those happy, sassy lassies.
Just like having like an old genie grandma.
What is your wish, master?
Oh, Jimmy! What's your
Okay,
wish?
stopping you right now. Anyways, he gasped out, "I hope you like this." Barely able to hold back as he felt his balls tighten. It was clear the little rocket was about to launch. Euphemisms, man. "Master, don't come yet. I want to taste too." The one called Genie called out, her voice seeming more seductive somehow, as Jack knew she was licking her lips hungrily. Now he then felt Barbara's smell pulling from his cock. "Please, master, blow your load over our faces."
Okay.
She mumbled nervously, though, still sounding so damn cute. Jack just gasped, more feeling them fondle him more. That sentence needs a little bit of fixing. That sentence needs a little bit of punctuation. It felt as if electricity was going through his head as he was overwhelmed with pleasure. It was unbelievable as he moved his hips back and forth. If the girls wanted him to come, they were about to get it. He felt overwhelmed with the electricity going through his head, but it didn't stop him as he climaxes. Felt it come out of him. Ropes upon ropes came out of his head. His little penis head. I gotta be more specific. He only wished he could see the two girls that had hit them. "Oh, master, you come so much. It's everywhere." "Thank you, master. I appreciate it." He let out one last moan. His heart raced like a jackhammer. His mind turning to a complete blank, not knowing what to say, as there were no words that could describe the pleasure he felt. Soon his eyes started to get heavier until he fell into a deep sleep, unwillingly. He was about to enter a world of pleasure and passions. As he was about to go unconscious, Jack could hear the sounds of two women giggling.
Is that it? Is that how it ends?
That's just chapter 1. We can go on to chapter 2 if you like. At least max to 2, so that way we give these people a good idea as to what to expect.
I mean, let's see what the chat says.
Some people are like, "Oh, great. Someone's talking about James Charles." I don't want to go through that shit.
Oh, I mean, I know all the tea on that, sis.
Zach wants us to continue.
Just
So
have
is
like a
Blue
gram.
Topaz.
Oh, I bet they're feeling happy.
Oh, yes,
Ghost Boy
master. I
Stevens is asking for it, so
just love it when I cream me in your pantaloons.
stop it. Alright. Let's go on to chapter 2. And then
But
we'll
I'm
conclude.
a Bobby. Ooh, woo.
Stop it.
Ooh, woo, master.
Jack groaned when he woke up. The sun was passing through the window, hitting his face. He twisted and turned into bed, trying to fight to stay asleep. Remember a new dream he had last night. Though, like everything else in the world, Jack would eventually have to wake up. His head groaned slowly as he began pulling himself up from the comfortable bed. "Wow, I feel like $1,000,000, he thought, as he began pulling himself up from the bed. His stomach growled, reminding him that he was feeling famished. He knew he hadn't eaten anything last night, so he decided to just cook a couple things, maybe some bacon, eggs, whatever's in this fridge.
Make a salad.
Let's see what we got. He muttered as he walked towards the kitchen in his underwear, not noticing anything odd. He got closer to the kitchen and heard the soft sound of sizzling coming from there. After all that, he could take in the lingering scent of what seemed like bacon. His heart skipped a beat as all sorts of things went through his mind. Oh God, don't tell me I didn't cook in my sleep again. He'd have times where he did it without realizing it. One time causing him to nearly burn down his kitchen, all because while he was sleeping. Oh, so he's a sleepwalker too. Great. Sometimes he has the urge to cook chicken nuggets on the stove. He felt horrible about that for months. He pulled himself to the kitchen, seeing what damages might have been, though he stopped right there and just dropped his jaw. In front of his stove was the most gorgeous woman he'd ever seen. Tall, with legs that looked like they went on for miles, wide hips that looked perfect as it went up to her slender frame and flowed up her body, matching her red hair that went down past her shoulders. It took a second, but he could have sworn it was like fire. Her hips swayed as she was humming, while Jack didn't say anything, only being able to hold onto the archway of the kitchen. He gulped. The woman turned around. She seemed to be holding onto the frying pan. He was mesmerized by her eyes, reminding him of gold. The way they stared into his soul. She could only give him an equally hypnotic smile as she exclaimed, "Oh, you're awake, Master." Jack was hit by the memories of what happened last night as he stumbled back some, barely holding his voice. She was one of the girls.
So wait, these dumb bitches came home with him?
They were the genies in the bottle he bought in the fucking antique store.
Well, I wasn't here for that. I was taking a shit on the toilet, but...
Okay, long story short, it rained. He ducked into an antique store. He saw this fucking genie bottle that was described exactly like Genie's bottle. I Dream of Genie. He gave his last money up to it. He took it home. And basically when he tried to clean it, smoke enveloped. And then he passed out.
Bitch. Okay, continue. I would probably kick those hoes out. Be like, be gone, thoughts!
Well, hold on. We're dealing with a dude. He probably would be turned on. So, her fingers were rubbing her chin some, and even the way she did that was so damn beautiful. The woman was like a pure goddess. She looked down and placed the frying pan down on the stove. "Esther, you're alright?" Another familiar voice came out from right behind him as Jack took another step back and jumped out of his skin. Standing before him was another woman, quote, close to equal beauty. Though unlike the other woman, she looked younger by at least a year or two, but she was simply stunning. She's shorter than him as opposed to the taller redhead. She was just under his chin. Her hair was short just past the ears. It's curly and completely snow white. She was slender like her sister, but the hips were not quite as wide. It didn't detract from her looks with a shy exterior. Her eyes matched her sister's, though, instead of being the unnatural gold, hers was silver as the light of the full moon. Am I dealing with a short-haired version of Weiss? Fucking hell.
Who the fuck is that?
Ruby character.
Oh.
Jack didn't know what he should do. What could he do? He glanced over to the beautiful woman and realized that they barely have any clothes on. What they had somewhat reminded him of old Disney films of Aladdin. Clothes were resembling closely to Princess Jasmine's. The difference was the color. The redhead was wearing a distinct red on hers, while it seemed like the younger one was light purple. She was doing her best to try to remain as modest as she could in this situation. Her hands were crossed across her chest while the mysterious girl's cheeks were blushing. "Who are you guys?" Jack asked, somewhat nervous since they're total strangers. Who wouldn't freak out? At that, the short girl moved around him, walking towards her sister as she signed. "You didn't tell me, Jenny?" "Well, he did just wake up, Barbara. Let's at least have some breakfast first. Then we get to the boring stuff." Jenny smiled, giving $1 million smile towards Jack, who gave it a small smile back. She moved around slowly, cupping Barbara's side. She bends down, giving a cute look. "So how about it, Master? Would you care to join us for some food?" Jack seemed speechless, especially with them calling him Master. Just didn't feel right the way they call him Master. Call the Master. Okay, some little repetition there. Did they really need... I don't know, they really needed that. Yeah, let's grab something. When Jack said that, his stomach seemed to growl on the spot. The two girls just gave him a small smile and led him to the table, practically pulling him towards it. He took a seat at one end as the girls got the rest of the breakfast ready. They grabbed a hold of what they cooked, and Jack smiled. It was impressive what she made. From bacon and eggs to sausage, biscuits, and gravy, a meal that will work out for anyone and fill the greatest of champs. He couldn't help but feel his mouth watering from this. Wow, this is amazing, though I still don't know who you are. He looked towards him, still curious. All the while, Jenny moved to a plate right in front of him and grabbed some of the food. As he looked down at what was given to him, she finally said something to him. Well, Master, I'm Jenny, and this here's my sister Barbara. We're the genies of the lamp. Jack just sat there for a minute as it looked like a small hamster was slowly spinning its wheel. It seemed like the little bastard was just as confused as the hamster wasn't even rolling along. Did you just say you're genies? He felt like he wanted to laugh, though a part of him wanted to believe him. He didn't know why, but Jack just did. There was no way of explaining this. They looked at him, giving soft smiles. Barbara was giving a smaller one, more nervous. Yes, we did. We are your genies, Master, Barbara murmured, which Jack could understand, but just barely. He began to laugh some as he realized this. It's got to be a complete joke. It just has to be. He reached over, holding his sides. He couldn't help but enjoy this as he looked onward, seeing their faces. It hadn't changed. They hadn't shown any sign that this was a joke. This was 100% serious. You guys are serious, right? Barbara nodded shyly while her lips changed into a smile. She looked over him as Ginny walked over to him, her hips swaying back and forth, moving in closer as Jack watched. I can assure you, Master, we're very much actual genies. Wish for anything, it shall be yours. Her voice was deepening. Unfortunately, I'm not fucking charismatic enough to mimic that, so imagine that. Try Adagio. Maybe that'll fucking... Her eyes began to slowly glow.
Imagine a slut.
How much are you paying for?
God damn it. No, stop it. Jenny's eyes began to slowly glow as Jack felt his heart racing. She decided to press her luscious breast against his chest as she looked at him. It took a minute to realize how taller she was of him, and he stood around 5'11". All the while, she just stared at him with a smile. I can prove it to you, Master. All you gotta do is make a wish. And I'm reading right ahead of this, and I'm gonna fucking tell you right now, it's gonna continue on to be a little bit porny.
Hey.
Jack bit his lips as he couldn't think straight, due to her soft breasts pressing together against him as they were held down by what little clothing she was wearing. That was when an idea came to mind, a small fun idea. So he decided to make his first wish. I guess I wish that your breasts would grow big enough that your top will pop off.
Why?
Think I win this deck.
Okay, I'm just gonna chime in as a woman. Bras are expensive, right? Finding tops are expensive, right? I'm just trying to throw in logic here, but then again, this is a porno fic. Why should I throw in what a woman thinks? Who cares what a woman thinks?
Not only that, he said, here's this logic. If they were really genies, then this would prove it with their bodies changing. No mortal being could do a change like that. Jenny only smiled before giving a giggle. That's certainly surprising. Most masters would make a more useful wish, like $1 million or something. But instead, you make a wish like that. She slowly pulled herself back and swayed her hips. As she gave a little dance, she watched him with a seductive smile. So you have wished it, so it shall be. She muttered seductively as she raised her hand up and snapped her fingers. Jack's eyes were right on her, admiring the smile. He had to force his eyes down as he gave a chuckle. Looks like there was nothing going on. Her chest remained the same. I knew it, he said. Unfortunately, it was too soon. Her breast then started to grow. It wasn't noticeable, but it slowly became noticeable. Her chest had been impressive before, but they got a little bigger. He bit his lip as they seemed like they were overflowing her top. At the rate they were going, they were gaining a cup a minute. He could practically see Jenny's top struggling to stay together. Holy shit, you weren't kidding. You really are genies. He looked in shock as he took a step back, enthralled by the bra getting tighter around her chest. He was amazed by this, giving off a small smile. "Your wish is nearly completed, Master," she said as she took a bite out of a strip of bacon, watching her sister about to pop her top. And then it happened without Jack even realizing it. Her bra blasted off, flying into the air, out of sight for a minute before it finally landed down on his head. Jack watched her, admiring her really large breasts, slowly bouncing as she moved in. Oh god, this is even fucking fan servicey.
Her poor fucking back.
I'm gonna have to re-upload this with a fucking age restriction.
Her poor fucking back.
Don't worry, it'll all be compensated with a stronger back. That's how porn normally works. You get larger tits, it's offset by a stronger back.
You have not seen a hormonal woman, have you?
No, I just watch a lot of porn. Hell,
Porn doesn't really bring out the true side of a woman.
Sometimes many comics try to go like, oh, her fucking back. But don't worry. Hell, some of the comics pretty much just adjust it by either giving her a large trunk space, basically a large butt, or giving the character a stronger back so it's not fucking killing her. In fact, I've seen this happen in a Pokemon Anthro comic series.
Oh god.
A Tumblr blog based on Pinkie Pie.
Well, I like the Zachary link guy in the chat. He says, "Patrick, take it or leave it." Yes, this guy is true queen.
Jack watched her admiring over the large breast, slowly bouncing as she moved in. Sure, they sagged some, but it looks perky at the same. It had to have been magical. How do you like that? You enjoy them? They're all just for you. She whispered as Jack's back was pressed against the wall. Jenny leaned over, placing a hand on the wall and looking at him with lust and want, looking like a hungry predator. All Jack could do was give the nod as he watched him. As the seconds passed, his pants began tightening. He was feeling exhilarated. Jenny then looked down at the ever-growing bulge. "Wait, what are you?" Jack said, reacting to how Jenny was reaching down, grabbing his bulge. This was catching him off guard. Oh boy, fucking breakfast and sex. I'm sorry.
Incoming demonetization.
I'm not monetized. Although I probably will get a community strike. That's what happened with Little Miss Rarity. This was catching him off guard as he was reacting to how Jenny was reaching down, grabbing his bulge. Ooh, what's this? Her hand was slowly massaging it as she got closer, kissing his neck, her breathing getting a little hotter. Relax, Master. I'm just restoring some of my energy. Wishes can take a bit out of me, she whispered as she moved down slowly, her lips pressing against his body as he began hearing his zipper come undone. He then felt his pants come down as he groaned, feeling relief from the pressure. His dick flopped out hard as a rock. As he watched, Jenny was going down on her knees with a smile as she began caressing her breasts, her fingers twisting her nipples. Okay, what does she mean by restoring her energy? He asked Barbara as the other genie was continuing to eat. Okay, we're class 4 genies. We can grant you an unlimited supply of wishes, anything you want. But when we grant that wish, we have to restore our power after that. My sister is simply recharging. Barbara pointed her fork at her sister as she was getting another helping of sausage, while Jenny was going for the different kind. What does this have to do with my dick? Jack screamed, but soon gasped as he felt his cock being held tightly right between Jenny's newly enlarged breasts. They felt soft as she began jerking him. Jack leaned back a little bit more. It was truly pleasurable. Jenny gave a sweet, lustful smile. I bet this is going to be porn-related.
Oh, boy.
The reason for that, Master, is the brand of Genie. My sister and I need the essence of men or women to give us the energy to grant wishes. The bigger the wish, the more essence we need from you. We gained it from your bodily fluid. Or more specifically... She nudged down as she continued titty fucking his cock as gas parred her. He saw the picture, that's for sure. And we do too. They regain their energy through sex. That old chestnut that I've seen in a couple of hentais. How do you feel about this?
Me?
Yes.
I mean, I honestly thought genies had, like, maybe a recharging station, like they go back in their bottle and maybe crack a beer or something and, you know, drink, and then they're like, hi, I'm back. Unless they want...
You're mistaking the genie's bottle for the man cave.
No. Well, I'm just saying, it doesn't matter if you're having a man cave or not. What I'm saying is that what I do to recharge is that I play some fucking video games, or maybe I go and, you know, to fuck sleep. You know, I like a normal person. Or maybe if I, you know, am very drained, I'll go and do something very relaxing. I wouldn't go and be like, hey, let's go and fuck to recharge my magical energy.
If anything, it just drains of physical energy.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, I can understand maybe after sex, you know, like cuddles or whatever. And I'm coming from personal experience here, but, like, come on. Like, no. Like, I wouldn't just go up to my boyfriend and be like, hi, I'm really drained and tired. You know, I need to recharge my energy. Let me fuck you. No, bitch, grab a fucking cup of coffee. Be a normal goddamn person.
Well, this is something. The fanfic continues.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if I was a genie, my power restoration will probably be fucking cup of coffee. Be like, give me some. Put some milk in there. Bitch, ready to rumble. Let's go.
All right. Let's continue. He groaned as he felt his head arching. She continued moving faster as his cock head had managed to push out from the top of her breast. In response, she bent her head down and gave it a slow leg. A titty fuck, yes. Jack couldn't control himself between the information and how good she felt. It caused him to groan harder. I'm sorry. While she went only faster. Her breast was moving as to give him a change of pace, but eventually became too much for him as he thrust his hips as far as he could within her breast and began coming, releasing all he could into them. Jenny smiled. Nothing about it disgusted her as she looked up to him, staying on her knees. Why, thank you, Master. I appreciate the offering. As she began pulling herself back up to her feet, her finger waved as the cum shot off her breast. Creating a ball from the sperm, she proceeded to swallow it. She lets the liquid flow down her throat as she moaned, smacking her lips seductively. Her expression was sultry as she calmed down some. Jack just stood there, his heart racing. He felt weak in the knees and started to slide down. Soon, he was sitting on the floor. Oh, wow, was all he could exclaim as he bit his lip. Barbara walked over and reached down, her hand slowly taking his as she gave a small smile. The white-haired genie helped to pull him right up, and without a struggle. Thanks, Barbara, right? Jack asked, upon getting back on his feet. Seems she gave him a soft smile. Yes. She reached over to pat his shoulder. He walked back to the table. Jenny was standing there, giving a smirk while going back to her breakfast, her breast turning back to her original size. Wait, shouldn't they have stayed the way they were from the wish? Jack asked, confused. You wouldn't expect me to keep my breasts like that all day. It would be kind of inconvenient. She gave a small giggle before chewing her food while Jack began realizing something. So I'm your guys' master. This is weird. He had to admit the whole situation was kind of crazy. If he didn't know any better, this all could have been a dream. He looked the girls over while they were eating. He simply decided to join them and moved on to begin diving deep into breakfast. While all this was said and done, the food was finished and they were sitting there looking at each other. I think maybe we should take this over to the living room. They nodded and followed them there. They walked in, opting to sit on the couch, just trying to get comfortable. As Jack was the first to sit down, the genies joined happily. Barbara sat down on his lap, trying to look calm and relaxing, as Jenny was snuggling up to him, giving a smirk like the vixen she clearly was. While he sat there getting comfortable, he looked over at the genies and decided to ask. So genies actually exist, but how? The two glanced at each other for a minute before answering. Well, yes, genies do exist, among other things, though we're not exactly genies either. Jack raised an eyebrow at this, wondering what they could actually mean. What my sister is saying is that we are genies, but a class 4 version of the normal genie, Jenny said as she put her feet on the table, getting more comfortable with a long smile. She moved onwards. Well, I guess that's interesting, though. What's the difference between class 4 and normal genie?
You know?
Barbara smiled as she was getting more comfortable. She moved in closer to look towards Jack as she leaned back on a chair. As class 4 genies, we're bound to you till death or until you're released from your control. Alright. That's interesting, but is there a catch? He looked over at them skeptically, as with something like this, there's always a catch for it. After all, nothing comes for free. He looked back and forth between the two, trying to get a read, but they didn't show too much. Wasn't quite... Oop, I almost skipped ahead a little bit. It's quite clear, Master. We're not as powerful as high-ranking genies, but we can still do a good bit of things. A normal genie are limited to granting 3 wishes with nearly anything. We can grant wishes, but we need to supply power for our master to perform the wishes they desire. An example was last night and early today.
He's gonna be living with a very limp dick. I hope he brings Viagra.
He better get on to fucking getting some food, otherwise he's gonna be dry.
It's not even that. It's like, guys recharge slower than women in a biological standpoint, so.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on how high your sex drive is, because not everybody has a high sex drive. I get it, genies are like fucking immoral beings, but like, if we're just talking from like, if say if these bitches have a higher sex drive and, this guy doesn't, there's obviously like some kind of biological hurdle they have to deal with. So they have to be in the mood for it, or they have to wait a couple of days, because not everybody is going to be ready. Some people are ready in 15 minutes. Some people are ready in 5 minutes. You have to take these into account.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just coming from experience.
Yeah.
I'm a hoe.
All right. Let's see. Jan began blushing as this was somewhat surprising. His heart is pounding, and he started to think. He could do nearly anything he wanted, any wish he desired. The only price he had to pay was to have sex with these beautiful women. A dream come true. This is too much. Are there things I can't wish for? He felt like asking, since there's clearly some limits. It seemed like Barbara was thinking it over as Ginny was snuggling right up to him. Her hand is caressing his chest. She took over the conversation. It's simple. You'll be able to make any wish you want, but you can't wish to change a person's free will, or wish for godhood. And probably the most important, you can't wish for the knowledge of the location of other genies. Those are the big free forbidden wishes. Jack would give a nod before giving a small thought. He then quickly asked, is there a no killing rule? What about that? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, you're right. You just can't kill anyone, or if you order us to do that. The most we'd be able to do is beat the person to an inch of their life, but they won't die. If you kill someone on purpose on accident, you won't be able to bring them back to life.
I have a hit list. They could have done that.
That's it, Jack said, seeming more surprised at this, that there wasn't really any side effect or terrible limitation, as long as Jack keeps him powered up. He looks towards the genie, realizing he had an opportunity of a lifetime. That's all, sir, Barbara said, as she seems to be calming down. Her body looked more loose while she got more comfortable in her new environment. A strap on her top seemed to be falling down to the side, looking her a little bit more desirable. Jack then thought about the clothes they were wearing. Surely what they were wearing was sexy and wouldn't mind seeing them more often, but the problem was going out in public, to stick out like sore thumbs. Something he had to change, and the first thing he needed to do was to get them something more appropriate. Guys, I really think we should get you guys some new clothes. Seems like you've been in those for a while. Plus get you out of the house, and they'll see a lamp. Oh, there we go. So we'll be going to the market. I am curious about how the world has changed since the last time I and my sisters were out. It's been, 1,000 years? Jenny said, giving a light smile as she adjusted her top. Jack looked over and realized it was barely see-through. Her nipples are poking out, obvious to those who paid attention. Nice of you to fucking change that priority. Sister, it's only been about 100 years. That's the last time we were released, she stated, with confidence in her voice that she knew what she was talking about. Then there was a slight tone she gave that she was slightly annoyed by the redhead. He soon motioned them to follow them. How about we head to my room so you could try on a couple things before we go out? Sure, Master. I'd love to try out a few things, yes. Jenny giggled as she ran up the stairs right ahead of her while her hips swayed. Jack couldn't help but stare at her behind. The way the ass moved, it was bare and lovely. Definitely something he wanted to feel any time he had the chance. Barbara, though, rolled her eyes with a slight smirk. Master, you're such a perv. Well, I'll try on some of those clothes. I don't think it'll look as good as Jenny's, though. Barbara walked as they began walking side by side. Jack noticed that Barbara was definitely different as she moved in closer to him, grabbing his arm as she seemed to be getting in close as she could, as she headed straight to the bedroom. And that's the end of chapter 2.
Blue Topaz has a question about the story. It says, but you can make people fall in love with anyone else or bring people back from the dead. Wait, how many wishes does he have again?
Infinite.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about Genie lore. All I know is that they just serve people to the end of time.
We're dealing with strange Genie lore, so yeah. But yeah, that was the first 2 chapters, and this was pretty much a paid promo for it. I've linked it in the description, and will link it again in the description when I re-upload this with my audio, as opposed to the stream where I think Kitty's probably playing something in the background.
It's just some music. It's nothing that big.
It's okay.
And it's really faint.
It's okay. But, I'm very particular with how I do things, to a degree.
All right.